And now let's look at the power sector, as there are some recent developments there. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation says it plans to generate about 4,000 megawatts of electricity in the next 10 years to boost the supply in the country. And following its disagreement with electricity distribution companies over the accumulated electricity bills owed by its agencies, the federal government is now planning to adopt a new payment mechanism for the settlement of the monthly electricity bills of its ministries, departments, and agencies. Now, with me in the studio to talk about this and more is an investment analyst at AfriInvest, Omotola Abimbola. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Right, let's even begin with the NPC's do-nothing decision.
Correct.
Looking at the energy segment, does that really mean anything to them?
It doesn't really. We think it would have a very muted impact, not just on energy markets, but for the broader market as well, because the decision of the NPC was in line with analyst expectation. There shouldn't be any overreaction in the market. And for most oil and gas companies, their debt exposure, their leverage, they're mainly foreign currency leverage. They borrowed outside the country or sometimes in USD term. So they're much more sensitive to changes in, let's say, the US LIBOR rates or global interest rates movement than changes in the benchmark policy rates in Nigeria. So to an extent, there should be very little impact on the energy markets from the NPC decision.
Now, when you saw that news about NNPC planning to generate about 4,000 megawatts of electricity, that's in 10 years, what came to your mind?
I would say that I was very surprised, maybe alarmed a bit.
Why?
Because I believe that the NNPC's decision to go into power generation shouldn't be a priority at the moment. Because if you look at the oil and gas sector, there are so many challenges at the moment. Over the past 10, 15 years, we've been stuck at 2 million barrels per day of oil production. It has not improved. We have not seen very big tickets here and P happening in the sector. The auctioning of oil and gas for oil blocks, the marginal rounds, we haven't had one in quite some time now. The PIB has not been passed. We do not have enough gas to fully power the generation capacity that we have at the moment. So really, investing in more generation capacity probably shouldn't be the priority right now. At the moment, we have more than 12,000 megawatts of generation capacity in the country, but less than 4,000 megawatts is being wheeled out for two reasons. Because we don't have enough gas to power those generation companies, and because the transmission network, does not have the willing power to fully, make sure that all the power being generated gets to the distribution companies. So I would have expected that the NNPC would be focusing probably on, gas generation, gas infrastructure to ensure that we have enough gas feedstock to power the thermal station. I would say that they will be focusing more on how to improve oil production from the current static level of 2.2 million barrels per day to something like 2.5 to 3 million barrels per day. So for me, it shouldn't be a priority. Now,
with the gas deficit in Nigeria, that brings to question how they intend to achieve this, even though they have tried to explain the plans to actually ramp up with perhaps some agreement with some companies to ramp up a gas supply.
That is very, very important. And I think that is why the passage of the PIB is very central to development of the energy markets in Nigeria. In the PIB, there is a gas plant there that will probably ensure that we get enough gas to power the economy enough. But maybe going back to the story on the NNPC going into power generation, something that's quite alarming about the story is that despite our being so much dependent on gas, right, for power generation, we are still trying to go back there again because at the moment, over 80% of generation capacity is thermal. So where we should be seeing investments is probably in renewable energy sources or going back into hydro, solar, or coal generation, not digging deeper into the gas station. And then another thing is the 4,000 megawatts is being planned to be sited very far away from the gas feedstock itself. They're planning to set up these plants within Abuja.
It's an IPP project.
It will be an IPP project that would involve both independent power generation companies, the NNPC, and other joint venture partners as well. They are planning to make, they're trying to make it work in the same manner that the NNAG is working, so that the government will have a very minority stake in it, and then the companies will be run by the independent power operators, who probably have the technical and the financial backing to actually support such large-scale projects. But the bigger issue is that how do you get the gas to move from the Niger Delta down to the northern part of the country? You know, the Warri refinery that we have in the northern part of the country, it's not been working for quite some time, because it's very difficult for you to move petroleum products, petrol itself, petroleum from the Niger Delta to the northern part of the country, because by the time it gets there, it would have been damaged, you know, along the line. So I think that's a very important issue to look at as well.
Now, the concern for most Nigerians, I mean, NNPC wanting to generate 4,000 megawatts. Well, how does that help me? Is that the answer to the problem we have with electricity?
I doubt if it's going to come true, to start with. I think the answer to the quick wins, right, to deliver incremental power supply in Nigeria right now will be trying to first solve the Niger Delta crisis and ensure that we are able to go back to optimal or peak level of gas production again, so that we can power all our generating companies at first. And then we should also try to invest more in the transmission network to ensure that the wheeling capacity of the TCN, which is the Transco, improves substantially, so as to be able to, you know, ensure that we have enough power going out to the discos. And then from the discos end as well, I think we are at the level where we need lots of investments in that sector to ensure that we have proper metering, and also we're able to reduce the aggregates, technical, commercial, and collection losses that the discos are facing. And so that, because right now the discos do not get enough revenue to fully service the value chain. And for them to do that, they have to bring down their HC, C, and C losses.
Now, talking about that metering issue, that brings us to mind another burning issue in the electricity sector. The federal government, the disagreement between the federal government and the discos over billings and all that. And they are saying they're considering a new payment system.
I'm very impressed about that because over the past 2-3 years, the major challenge in the power sector has been liquidity. And if you look at the biggest debtor for the discos, they are mostly government agencies, the MD, particularly the military, who probably, you know, do not have faith in the ability of the discos to properly build them. So they feel that they are being overbuilt, or sometimes they just don't want to pay. And the discos feel that we are giving you your fair share of the bill. So there's a need to rebuild that trust between the government MDAs and the discos, so that we're able to
Well, the answer is the metering issue, which the discos say, well, we have issues with funding, so we can't actually supply everybody the meter.
Correct, but I think that is why the new initiative by the federal government is very important. What they are saying right now is that for the discos to come to them with their bills, they first have to ensure the meter or the government MDAs appropriately, and they're able to independently verify the bills that they are bringing forth for clearing. So they're going to have a centralized billing system right now, where all the discos make sure that the meter hold the government MDAs, and when after the tariff is being given, they collate the entire bill structure and give it to the federal government to be cleared as once. So I think if they're able to properly implement this, that will probably reduce the trust deficits and ensure that we get liquidity back into the power sector.
Now, just a quick one. What's your outlook for Nigeria's electricity sector?
It's going through a very rough patch right now. But over the past, I think in the past 2 months, focus has shifted a lot into it. Last month, the federal government announced that they will be going for a guarantee system by the central bank to bring about 700 billion naira in liquidity into the power sector. So if this is done appropriately, we're able to solve the liquidity problem in the sector. I think the outlook is brighter than we have it now.
All right, thank you very much, Tola.
Thank you very much.
Omotola Abimbola, investment analyst with Afri Invest. After the break, still on the NPC's do nothing decisions, this time from organized private sector perspectives. Just stay with us.